me well, since my hands are full. That's fine. All right. Come with me, I have a lesson for you. Gonna model. You can stand here. Empty. Empty. I'm going to put this away now. You may use this work anytime you'd like. All right, what did you guys notice about the presentation?
You didn't talk a whole lot.
Did anyone notice what I said? I think I said two things.
Empty.
Empty. I said empty 2 times. You don't even have to do that. That's kind of a second step for that lesson. I mean, but most of the kids, like, if you were doing infant toddlers, you might not even say that. But I usually say empty to point out that I kept going until it was empty. Like when you're doing something like this, that's a little bit more important. Because you don't want them to just do half of them and then put it away. You want them to complete the work cycle. That's what the first year is all about, is the work habits and completing the work cycle. So you're always gonna finish a lesson. Once a kid is, if you've got a middle grouper who's coming and they wanna try some practical life work and they're not quite sure what to do with it, I might give them a partial lesson. But for new students, you're always gonna complete the lesson until you know that they've got that work cycle down. So yeah, the only thing I said was empty. The chair is pretty important. The way that you're gonna put the work down, pull out the chair. Having the child stand on the left side is important if you're right-handed. Because right where Kay is sitting, if I'm doing the work with my right arm, you can't really see what I'm doing. But if they're over here, they can see it better. And if you're left-handed, you could ask them to stand on your right. That's fine. Do I have any left-handed people? Okay. Or you can present it like a right-handed person. It doesn't matter however you'd like to do it, whatever you're more comfortable with. It's kind of fun. I've actually tried doing lessons left-handed before just to challenge myself. Or if a child comes to this side, even though I've asked them to come over there, and it's hard, but it's kind of fun. Then when you're finished, and it took me a lot of practice to get this down. So you don't pick up the tray. You stand up, you push your chair in, and then you pick up the tray. Because otherwise you have to push the chair in with your knee, and that's not an easy thing for a 3-year-old to do. All right, so I'll do the next lesson, and again, you probably saw I modeled. But this, I didn't model it quite so much because it's just grabbing, but I'll model it a little bit better with the scoop. All right, so this is...
So they don't move on to the next lesson until they get the first lesson down?
Well, ideally, sometimes somebody's already using the first lesson, and I would go ahead and do the second lesson. I mean, it's not such a leap that most of the kids won't be able to figure it out. Usually on the first day of school, you'll have 3 or 4 kids that have just arrived, and you'll just show that first lesson, and it's okay. You want to do individual lessons, but it's okay if 2 or 3 kids are watching it and they've all seen it and they were all paying attention. That can count as their lesson.
Okay.
Especially with these that are pretty short and don't have that many details. But ideally, they're going to get that individual lesson on every one of these. So, it's the beginning of the year. We'll talk about a little bit more tomorrow, but it's hard to do everything exactly the way you want to do it long term for the first few weeks because you're hurting a lot of little kids. All right, so this is scooping, and again, I'm just going to walk through every step for a little while until it sounds like a mantra. All right, come with me, I have a lesson for you. here. Empty. Empty. You can use this anytime you'd like. Right. Any comments? Did you notice a lot of similarities in that lesson with the first one? The language was pretty much identical. I didn't say, now I'm gonna put this away the second time. You don't need to say that, like the child will see you. Now what will happen is it looks like you finished and the child will take off and say, I'm not finished with this lesson yet. You need to stay here till I'm finished and then push the chair in and put it away. Because you really want the child to see that as part of the lesson. All right, I'm gonna
Can I
skip.
ask you a question?
Yes.
Oh.
Anyway,
Why did you grab the scoop with this hand and then put it in this hand?
because I was modeling the proper hand grasp with the other
Okay.
hand. So you'll see me do that probably with everything. I'll show you're gonna hold the spoon this way, then I'm gonna place the spoon
Okay.
in my hand to show,
Why didn't you
show
just
how.
grab it? Like, I'm like, why didn't you just pick it
Yeah,
up?
you'll see that in
Okay.
a lot of the different lessons. It's just so that they're really clear that, like, if they're just trying to pick up that spoon, they're gonna grab it like this, or this or something. So if you show them that pincher grasp, and this is really something to do, to practice a lot. This is, you know, the way they're gonna hold a pencil eventually. They're gonna use it in lots of practical life. They're gonna use it for all the sensorial work, and then when they get to using a marker, it's gonna be very natural for them.
And so the handle, the facing of the handle has to do with that on the scoop?
It's set up for a right-handed person.
Okay.
There are lots of left-handed kids, but way more right-handed, so most of the work is just set up with a right-handed person in mind, if possible. It's kind of like this, but it doesn't fit very nicely on there, and neither does this. I mean, you could do it, but kind of sticks up.
I've had the situation frequently where the child will say, I want to do this work, and they take the tray themselves. Do I let them just put it down and then give them a lesson, or do I kind of
It
get
depends
it
on
back
what
from them?
stage that child's at. If it's a child who is, if it's the child's brand new, I would say, well, you need to ask for the lesson before you choose the work. Why don't you put it back and let me choose the work first?
Okay.
When you've got a child who's already been here for a year and a half or 2 years, and they've got the work cycle down, and they might come to
Yeah.
you with a work, I think it's okay then.
Yeah, they'll have it in their hands and say, can I have a lesson on this?
And part of that is, you know, you do want them to see, you want them to see you taking the work, bringing it to the table, pulling your chair out. Again, I'm just trying to tell you the ideal way to do it, but there are all kinds of factors that will play into these decisions, and you may have 5 kids standing around waiting for lessons, and you just don't feel like you have time to make them put the work back on the shelf, and you might just go ahead and do it. Or it's a child that you know they're brand new, but they've already seemed to have the work cycle down, but if you're working on the work cycle, you wanna have them put it back on the shelf. Plus, you wanna make sure you know where it goes when you're finished. Hopefully you will, but it's not always the case.
How do we know if this is like a 3rd year or 1st year or 2nd year child when we are new?
You're just gonna have to ask.
Okay.
I mean, you'll just
Okay.
learn that. I mean, you could say to the child,
Are you
Are
one?
have you been to this classroom before? I mean, they'll probably know. Most of the kids are pretty sophisticated, and
Okay.
they might say, oh yeah, I'm in the middle group, I was here last year.
Okay.
But you'll have access to all the class lists beforehand, but you're not gonna know all the kids' names, so
Yeah, I know.
it's gonna be, you know, it's, the learning curve is very steep right at the beginning because there's so many things that are gonna be new. And, once, I don't know, I think with, just like with the children, it's really a 3-year cycle for the teachers. So the first year, a lot of the time, you're just gonna not know exactly what's going on, but you're gonna learn a ton. And then the second year, you've got all these returning kids you're already really familiar with. You're starting to like maybe get into more of the, having a better idea of what to do in the environment. Like I would say by the end of your first year, you're not gonna know how half the works even
Okay.
work. And you'll work that out with the other teachers in the room, just how presentations are given. Like something like the bank work with golden beads that we use a lot of, like we probably will try to train everyone to use that material, even though it's one of the most advanced ones, but we'll probably not get into like all of the work. My goal for this 2-day training is just to present 4 to 6 lessons from every subject area that are for the very beginning of the year. And then you'll work out with your lead teacher, like when and how to become familiar with other presentations. I mean, usually when things have calmed down after the first couple of months, you'll be able to just watch the lead teacher give the presentation in the classroom. Sometimes I've had staff, if we have a particularly busy classroom, sometimes they'll want to come in on the half of the day that they're not working. Like if it's a PM staff person, they might come in the morning to observe lessons because then it's like an extra adult in the classroom and they can just watch me give lessons all day. So that's sort of at your discretion if you want to do that kind of thing. I'm going to skip this because this is a different type of presentation that's opening, closing. I'm going to show maybe 2 more of these. What time is it? 9 o'clock, and we are supposed to be done at 9 o'clock. Okay, well, I'm going to show 2 more. It won't take very long. All right, this is sorting. Sorting is on the verge of early language. I think most of us keep it on our practical life shelf, but it's early language because it's visual discrimination, and you'll see sorting works sometimes in early language areas and sometimes anywhere in the classroom. But if you're looking for them in the record keeping sheets, they're on pink